Get all the news and controversy of the NFL right here on the Blitz Zone with your hosts, Eric Rosen and Jamie Hickson, as they discuss the hot topics concerning your favorite players and team, the winners, the losers, the big plays, and the big hits from around the league. Right here, only on the Blitz Zone.
It's Friday, September 16th, 2016. It's that time of the hour for your favorite NFL and college football program. Welcome to week 2 of the Blitz Zone. Hi, everybody. I'm Eric Rosen, and we're coming to you live from the studios of CTV in Staten Island, New York. And right next to me, of course, is the man, the legend, the myth.
Oh, please.
Jamie,
Hardly.
the sportsman, Hickson, everybody.
Well, thank you for those kind words, but trust me, I am far from a legend or a myth, for that matter. But after the opening week that we just had in the NFL, where we had 11 games decided by single digits, I'm looking forward for more excitement this coming weekend.
Oh, definitely. But before we get into all the football action that you love about this show, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Star Network magazine. Last night they held their annual Power Women in Business Award, and honoring 30 women who achieved so much in the world of not-for-profit and for-profit businesses, small businesses on Staten Island, including the people who own Not Just Bagels, Pino's Palais, who are actually opening another location,
Right.
and my mom, Eileen Rosen, who started her own business just a year ago called Development Event Services that helps not-for-profit organizations raise funds. And she's done such a great job. And over the years, she's worked with so many organizations from Volunteers of America, On Your Mark, Eden to now she's helping out. She's helping out so many organizations. Skylight Center this time,
Right.
Crossroads. So she started her own business to help other businesses, really raise all the funds they need to help the participants that they serve, especially people with developmental disabilities, which has always been a lifelong crusade of hers. And
This is a really good cause that they're doing.
And, I love my mother very much and what she does. She really is an inspiration to me, and it was an honor to be on the same stage with her, getting that award. And not only that, we got to meet, of all people, Geraldo Rivera.
Yes. In fact, it's funny you mention that because I actually met Geraldo Rivera only 2 days ago at the Willowbrook Mile event that took place. And he had his longtime friend, Bernard, with him. And Bernard is a really, really amazing story. He was brought to the old Willowbrook hospital when he was 3. Got discharged at 21, and the day he got discharged was the same day that Geraldo Rivera showed up at that campus to break the story. And they just so happened to have a chance encounter. They've been friends for over 45 years.
And it was because of Geraldo Rivera's heroics that he broke one of the biggest stories, one of the worst stories that we've ever heard in decades. He broke it wide open and showed everybody the abuses and all the negativity and all the bad things that took place at Willowbrook. But I don't want to get too much into it, but believe me, I just wanted to really thank all the people at the Star Network magazine, great people, and my mom and all the honorees who were awarded last night. It was an honor. It was a pleasure being there at the Hilton Garden Inn, and just congratulations to you all. Now let's get into some NFL football action. Some big news. Last night, the Jets won 37-31, but after they won last night's game, the Bills, because they don't want to blame the defense for their troubles.
But they should.
They fired Greg Roman.
I thought the idea of getting rid of an offensive coordinator was to get some accountability for not scoring enough points. Buffalo scored 31 last night.
24 of the 31 were from the offense. That one touchdown, from the fumble was from the defense.
And, of course, this is on the heels of a 7-point effort in Baltimore, but I just don't get this pulling the trigger and sounding the alarm after just 2 games. I mean, we're really young in the season, and the Bills have enough personnel offensively to try and make something out of their season. This was a complete panic move in my eyes.
And now they promoted Anthony Lynn, their assistant head coach and the running backs coach, to be the full-time offensive coordinator for the rest of the season. This was a guy who was with Rex Ryan back in the day with the New York Jets. So, honestly, everybody that's on the team, from Dennis Thurman, now Anthony Lynn, are all former Jets personnel.
Yeah.
So, honestly, I think this was a terrible move on his part. He was 4 years with the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
He didn't get fired at all once during that time. He left after the whole turnaround season when Jim Harbaugh left.
Yeah.
That was, honestly, he was a good coordinator there. He just didn't have the same kind of personnel that he would here, with the exception of LaShawn McCoy. The rest of that squad is average, mediocre, and God help me. I just think it was, like you said, it was a terrible move.
It was a panic move in my eyes. Now, let's see what they can do if they can respond to the new guy that's calling the shots offensively.
Definitely. And talk about being released or fired. C.J. Spiller, another former Buffalo Bill, was actually let go by the Saints.
Yeah. He's a young guy, though. CJ's been in the league just over 6 years. Something tells me he's going to get a job somewhere, because there's going to be a team that's really lacking in the little parts of the game, namely special teams, that's going to be needing somebody like him.
Oh, without a doubt, if he can stay healthy. Last year, he was on the disabled list. He had only 36 carries on the year in 2015. His worst statistical year of his career.
Yeah.
So I think there is a team that could use him for depth on their running back core. Say like the Colts. The Browns possibly could use him. A team, or even, dare I say it, his old squad, the Buffalo Bills.
Well, you never know. I mean, at the same time, though, they're really stacked in the backfield with LaShawn McCoy, and the other kid. But you never know.
You never know, indeed. And this guy who was 9th overall in the 2010 draft, out of Clemson, he had a spectacular career there. So somebody will pick him up. And contract extensions took place. Michael Brockers, on that defensive tackle duo with Aaron Donald, just got a new 4-year extension on his contract. And he's been in 57 straight games. Talk about durability right there.
Yeah.
The kid who came out of LSU. And David Bakhtiari for the Packers O-line got a new 4-year extension, $51.67 million. He's guaranteed $12 million per year. That's one of the biggest contracts for any offensive lineman in the NFL.
Yeah. And especially considering the fact that he came off a really solid 2015 season, I think this one was a little deserving.
Yeah, he's been starting 47 out of 49 games since he came into the league as a rookie. It's unbelievable what he's done for his career. He's so deserving. A player that coming out of rehab, Randy Gregory.
Yeah. The
2015 pick out of Nebraska by the Cowboys, who this year is still in the second game of a 4-game suspension, along with DeMarcus Lawrence on that defensive line. He just got out of rehab, and there's a possibility of an additional 10 games for another substance abuse violation.
Gee, what a shock.
I know. He's had character issues coming out of Nebraska. He was a first-round baby, a lot of people thought.
Yeah.
Why is it that these players do not realize that character issues play as much of a factor as the talent that you had going into a draft?
There are some teams out there that do take character into play, because some of these kids fall way down in the draft, and it's because of their character issues that they wind up being a 5th or 6th rounder.
Look at Laramie Tunsil this year. He was a top 5 offensive lineman coming out of Ole Miss. Then when photos surfaced, I think a day or two before the 2016 draft this year, of him smoking pot in a Darth Vader mask, or a gas mask, Darth Stoner, as I like to call him.
That's good.
Nonetheless, the picture surfaces up. It was from a few years ago. A guy, a friend of his, apparently, I wouldn't call him a friend after releasing something like that. A lot of teams got scared, but he fell to 13th to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Miami Dolphins probably thinking, granted that was bad, but you know what? I'm happy he fell down to us. They needed him, but at the same time, character does play a role. Let's recap the insane week that was week 1. The 11 games decided by 1 score, starting Monday night, the doubleheader, the second of the doubleheader in San Francisco. No Cal, SoCal, Rams.
Yeah, Rams and 49ers. this was all 49ers in this one. I mean, look at who the Rams have as their quarterback. Do you think it's time for them to maybe start Jared Goff? And just to give you an idea, there's already a lot of disagreements back and forth between the coaches about whether this kid should be starting in the first place.
I think he should. Honestly, you can't get any worse than no points. 10 first downs, 185 yards are being held to. Carlos Hyde owned them from beginning to end with 2 touchdowns on 88 yards rushing. And the only scoring touchdown was from Blaine Gabbert to Vance McDonald, who's been their reliable tight end the last few years. I honestly feel this is the game. The Rams are going to be the team that are going to be getting an egg on them. So the 49ers, they won this game 28-0. It was easy. Now, the next game right here, you got the Steelers-Redskins.
You think the Redskins are maybe regretting giving that big contract extension to Kirk Cousins? That's one thing. Another thing is Ben Roethlisberger showed he is the cream of the crop when it comes to elite quarterbacks. Just an outstanding offensive effort by both teams. And how about the high number of Steeler fans that made the trek down to D.C. for this game?
I know. Well, Steeler fans know how to travel in style. And in this particular game, one of my favorite parts was even after Ryan Kerrigan, all right, when Washington's leading 6-0, Ryan Kerrigan strip sacks Roethlisberger. Then Marquise Pouncey knocks the ball out of Kerrigan's hands, recovered by Roethlisberger as on 13. Then on that ensuing drive, he takes them 87 yards down the field, concluding with a 29-yard pass on 4th and 1 from the Washington 29 to Antonio Brown. That was the only touchdown Brown had on the game to complement his 8 catches of 126 yards. And by the way, DeAngelo Williams became the oldest player with 146 yards on 26 carries and 2 touchdowns.
There you go.
It was all Steelers all time, 38-16. This Redskins run defense, ouch.
Yeah.
Now, the Buccaneers-Falcons, talk about comeback kids in the second half. Jameis Winston, 4 touchdowns on day to different receivers.
Yeah. It's a good thing that he had a whole year under his belt, because if not, then Tampa really would be having their problems. But at least Winston did enough last season to try and show that he is capable of being the guy down the road. Yesterday was an example of him really taking charge of a game in crisis, and Winston really did well with himself.
And this was after the Falcons capitalized on that mistake that he made with Vince Jackson, where Jackson broke to the outside and Jameis wanted to throw to the inside. Desmond Trufant was able to intercept the ball, which led to the Falcons only lead the game where they were up 10-3. The fact that he was able to come from that and even score 2 on the first 2 possessions of the second half. My favorite was the one he did to Charles Sims, where he threw the ball to him, faked out 2 defenders, went into each other, went to the right, broke another 2 tackles. Charles Sims, he's a very versatile running back.
Yeah.
He's really great coming out. He's that third down back that can break the chains right there. I'm really excited. 31-24 for the Bucs. Vikings capitalizing on 2 mistakes by Marcus Mariota in the third quarter, a 77-yard pick six by Eric Kendricks, and a 24-yard fumble recovery by Danielle Hunter. And the Vikings beat the Titans in Music City 25-16.
All defense all the time for the Vikings in this one. But therein lies a question. As good as they were defensively, what's going to happen with them offensively now that Teddy Bridgewater is gone? Are they going to continue to go with the kid that they have currently, or are they going to make
Hill?
Or are they going to make the switch over to Sam Bradford, who they paid a pretty penny for to acquire in a trade?
He still hasn't even announced Mike Zimmer hasn't even announced yet who's starting this coming Sunday night against Green Bay. His own team doesn't have any idea.
Yep.
It's, he wants to play a guessing game with Mike McCarthy and the Packers. But McCarthy is preparing for both. We'll get into that in a bit. How about the greatest comeback ever at the New Orleans Superdome?
Yeah.
Oakland Raiders, 22 points in the fourth quarter, 210 yards, concluding with the game-winning 2-point conversion from Derek Carr to Michael Crabtree over Delvin Breaux, who's the replacement cornerback, with 47 seconds to go in the game. And the Raiders ended up winning 35-34, despite, at the end of the game, the Saints attempting a 61-yard game-winning field goal that sailed just wide left.
Well, give Derek Carr a little bit of credit this time. He was finally able to lead the offense in crisis to get a big victory this time. But you also have to consider who it was against. Against the Saints defense that cannot stop anybody. What can he do against a really top-notch defense down the road?
The Raiders weren't any better. They couldn't get to Drew Brees. Their pass rush has to do a lot better in the coming weeks ahead. They couldn't get once. In fact, they gave up 424 yards to Drew Brees, who that was his 14th 400-yard game. He tied Peyton Manning for the record. And Willie Snead, he's really becoming a sensational receiver, along Brandon Cooks. Another great comeback here. How about the Chiefs against the Chargers?
Now, that is definitely something that's worth talking about, because you consider the season opener was two division rivals that really can't stand each other. And the way the Chiefs were looking in the first half, they were just abysmal. Phillip Rivers was playing so great, but then at the second half comes, and they were just they did a complete about-face.
It was the ACL injury, unfortunately, Keenan Allen. He's done for the year.
Yeah.
It was 6 minutes left in the first half. That was the turning point right there, because he was the majority of the offense up until that point for San Diego, along Melvin Gordon, who finally scored a touchdown. This was a kid last year who came out of Wisconsin and couldn't buy a touchdown to save his life, but he bought 5 lost fumbles, which got him the bench.
Amazing.
So this time, the fact that he got 2 touchdowns in this game is remarkable in itself, but at the same time, the Chargers in the second half allowing a 3-touchdown lead to go bye-bye.
Yeah.
And Spencer Ware and Charkandrick West, great dynamic duo in that backfield in place of Jamal Charles, still recovering from the ACL injury. They ended up winning in overtime 33-27 on an Alex Smith keeper.
Yep.
Now, another crazy game, Lions-Colts.
Yeah.
You know, the game was tied at 28 all at this point. Then all of a sudden, the Lions get the lead off a 13-yard pass to Theo Riddick, who also is a dynamic running back out of the backfield. So it's 34-28. You think Prater would get the easy 33-yard extra point?
No.
No.
They push these extra points back for a reason, and that's to make things tougher on the kickers.
So it's 34-28. Then Andrew Luck, like he usually does in the fourth quarter with just minutes to go, as he's done since he came to the league in 2012, leads them on what we thought was going to be the game-winning drive. Gets what looked like the go-ahead touchdown to Jack Doyle. That was the second for Doyle in the game, making it 35-34. Then the Lions get the ball back. They get within field goal range for Matt Prater, and he scores with a 43-yarder, making it 37-35.
Yeah.
So the Colts, one last opportunity, and what do they do at the end? On the final play, an illegal forward pass in the end zone, and they get called for a safety.
Yeah.
39-35, the end result for the Lions. It's
a big win for the Lions, especially considering that they're going through a transition for, the umpteenth time in franchise history?
With that. But you know what? Jim Bob Cooter, the greatest name in all of sports, as their offensive coordinator. Theo Riddick and Amir Abdullah, a good tandem in the backfield. And Eric Ebron, he's a heck of a tight end.
Yeah.
This guy can really play. You know, he's not a great blocking tight end, but he can get you some points for sure. And you know what? Even without Calvin Johnson's here, who's spending his time on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah. Happily enjoying retirement now.
Yeah, without him, you still have Golden Tate. You know.
But he's not my idea of a number one receiver, though. The Lions are really going to miss having Johnson on the line, lining up against opposing secondaries.
Let's go to another close game in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, the land of Oz, the 12th man.
Yeah, you're talking about Dolphins and Seahawks here. Once again, the Dolphins show their incompetence offensively, and this once again is an indictment on their quarterback. At the same time, Seattle came up so big in the end. This was a very well-played defensive game by both teams, but there's a difference between Ryan Tannehill and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson makes plays at the end, especially in the clutch, and he made the biggest clutch play in this one.
And what killed me about Tannehill, he had an easy 75-yard touchdown pass to Kenny Stills. That would have been a touchdown. They would have won the game. He missed that out. And boom, they lost. After that 86-yard bomb he threw to Jarvis Landry, still couldn't get this past to Kenny Stills.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Inconsistency. That's what drives coaches crazy when it comes to their quarterbacks. If they can't find a sense of consistency, then it's only going to make matters worse for the offense.
And this was even with Russell Wilson hobbled with that ankle injury in the third quarter from the dirtiest player in the game and Dom Kung Su. They still won 12-10. Now, quickly, let's go into some of the other games right here. The Patriots, in the first of the 4 games without Tom Brady, kicked off things in swinging action. Another 2-point victory right here. It was the Patriots who won 23-21 in the desert on Sunday Night Football. And what was crazy about this game?
What was crazy about this game was that Jimmy Garoppolo actually played well.
264 yards, wasn't picked.
Yeah. And this was a game that the Patriots pretty much had the entire time because Carson Palmer just seemed to have a major problem mounting really good, consistent drives against the Patriot defense.
And the fact that the Patriots led most of this game. LeGarrette Blount, really bowled it in a touchdown to give the Patriots even a 17-7 lead with 10 minutes left in the first quarter. He's still a good guy to use inside 5 yards on third down when you need him to really make a bull rush play. But at the end of the day, the Patriots won. The Cardinals right now, they still have a promising team.
Yeah.
Just because they lost this game doesn't mean they're done. They got plenty more to show.
They could have had this game won, but then again, their place kicker missed a field goal with less than a minute to go, and that wound up killing them.
It was a bad snap. It was a bad hold. You add those things together, that equals bad kick.
Yep.
Bears, Texans, and boy, was it a coming out party for Brock Osweiler and that squad. I love this. This is the youngest, most dynamic offense in the entire league with Houston.
It was only one game, though, and granted, it was against the Chicago Bears, who could be one of the worst teams, probably one of the 2 worst teams in the league this year, along with the Browns. But Brock Osweiler acquitted himself really well for 1 week. And the Texans' defense, spectacular.
Without a doubt. And I'll tell you this. The fact that the Texans had 5 sacks on him, 2 by Whitney Merciless, who, since coming out of the league out of Illinois, has really been spectacular in that linebacking core. You add him with Jadeveon Clowney, and hopefully one day a 100% J.J. Watt, who hasn't been 100% since that hernia surgery he had. But still, you have all them together. They're a nightmare defense, and the youth they have in offense. You have Braxton Miller and Will Fuller together in that wide receiving core to complement DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
You got Lamar Miller, who had a 100-yard game. He was a featured back on this team. They never did that with him in Miami.
Yeah.
To their detriment. And that's why he ended up leaving, getting a new contract, along with the fact that Miami couldn't pay him what he wanted.
Yeah.
But Osweiler, good performance from him. I can't wait to see what they do this week. Going into, I'm not even going to discuss this further. Browns, Eagles. The Browns lost 29-10.
I can pick up the slack for you.
Yeah.
I kept telling people Carson Wentz was going to be a really good player in this league. Granted, it was against the Browns, but Carson Wentz looked really good in this one. He was authoritative. He made the right passes when he was supposed to. But that's one side of the ledger. The other side is Robert Griffin III could not mount much of an offensive threat for the Browns. And he wound up getting himself hurt. He's got a bad shoulder injury, which could cost him the entire season.
It's not even his throwing shoulder.
And it's not even his throwing shoulder either.
And some people project week 10. Some even say the season. And now you got Josh McCown or Cody Kessler.
Exactly.
Please, dear God, help this Browns team.
Cavaliers fans, I'm going to tell you right now. Well, let me rephrase this. Browns fans are going to hope that the Indians can have a really long playoff run in Major League Baseball and that the Cavaliers can have a successful start to basketball season defending their first ever NBA title, because right now the Browns are the single worst team in the game right now. This was their first game of the regular season, and they still look dreadful.
And they got to play Baltimore, a division rival this week. Yikes. Okay, just to wrap up the rest of the week, the Packers defeated the Jaguars 27-23 Everbank Stadium. Rodgers 2 touchdown passes, also running for one as well. Good precision accuracy, great getting himself out of the pocket, and threw a touchdown pass one of those touchdowns to Jordy Nelson back after that 1-year absence with the ACL injury before the 2015
And he's going to add a lot more to that Packer offense that they were missing from him last season.
Not the same cookie-cutter Jaguars team that you can easily beat by double digits. This team is here to play.
Mm-hmm. And they actually could have had this game, but they just could not make enough plays down the stretch to try and get over that hump and get that W.
Especially that Allen Hurns bubble screen pass he couldn't catch on fourth down. That hurt that potential game-winning drive. Buffalo Bills, Ravens, 13-7. Ravens win the game, and all it took was a 66-yard touchdown down the middle to Mike Wallace. This is Mike Wallace, the new Mike Wallace, Baltimore Ravens edition.
More importantly, Joe Flacco is back from injury. Terrell Suggs is also back from injury. Granted, the Ravens are still missing guys, but I'm going to tell you right now, the Ravens are going to be really, really dangerous this season. They are my sleeper team this year.
Well, both the Jets and the Giants had 1-point differential games. Different results. The Giants won 20-19, and you have to thank the Salsa Man, Victor Cruz, getting the game-winning touchdown with 6 minutes to go. And you have to thank the Jets' inability to to kick the ball through the middle, leaving 4 points on the board.
Yeah. And it wasn't just the 4 points that their kicker butchered that decided this game. It was the fact that the Jets secondary really got burned very, very badly by some big plays. I counted 5 big plays in this game that the Jets secondary wound up allowing in this one.
3rd and 18 in the second half, 49-yard pass to Brandon LaFell, and then a 54-yarder pass touchdown to A.J. Green. He had 12 catches on 13 targets for 180 yards.
And all of them were against Darrelle Revis. Plus, there's the issue of the Jet linemen. 6 sacks in this game. Leonard Williams, who got drafted number 1 this past spring, basically to be Damon Harrison's replacement, he was magnificent. 2.5 sacks in his NFL debut. This kid is going to be the real deal down the road. It's a real shame that the Jets lost this game because their defensive line was marvelous, and it took the secondary to stink it up for them.
7 sacks they had on...
7 sacks on defense, and it was the secondary that wound up getting burned in this game.
And it was the same thing last night in Buffalo. Just 4 days later, they had to go to Western New York to play at New Era Field. That's right, New Era is the new team to sponsor a stadium. You know, you have those sponsor highways. Well, sponsor a stadium.
Yep.
Ask the Miami Dolphins. 8 times they've had that. But nonetheless, the Jets went to Buffalo to play their rival Bills, who they haven't beaten in almost 5 years in Buffalo.
Yeah, a 5-game losing streak coming into last night's game. Or was it a 6-game? It was a 6-game losing streak that they had coming into last night's game. And boy, did the Jets do an about-face in this one. Not only did Ryan Fitzpatrick play really good, Matt Forte, this is another thing that the Jets are going to really be happy about coming into this season. Matt Forte is going to give them such a dimension that we thought Chris Ivory was going to give them before he left for Jacksonville. And already Chris Ivory is on concussion protocol, but this time Matt Forte, who's only missed 8 games in 8 years, had probably the most important game in his short Jet career. After a 96-yard performance against the Bengals, he gets exactly 100 yards, and I think it was 2 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns against that Buffalo defense. And how about the job that Ryan Fitzpatrick had? He was precise with his passing. Granted, he had 2 fumbles that he wound up committing. Fortunately, they were recovered, but he was able to overcome his mistakes this time and lead his team to the victory.
What was crazy about crazy is like one of my favorite things. Okay, spellbinding was the fact that they were up 27. Then Buffalo gets a field goal with less than a minute to go in the first half to make it 20-10. They get the ball, of course, because they did win the coin toss, but they deferred it to the second half. So in the beginning of the second half, on the opening drive for Buffalo, the Jets had them had the quarterback Tyrod Taylor 1 point. He's able to roll to his right. He sees an open Greg Salas for a 71-yard pass.
Again, the secondary